There can be no doubt that Jesus' entry into what has become known as Palm Sunday, his entry into Jerusalem, was the beginning of a week-long crisis. It was a crisis that involved the entire life of the city of Jerusalem. Jesus at the epicenter, his disciples, the crowds of that cosmopolitan city, its government, its religious leaders, and all the confusion, panic, and dismay that such an upheaval brings. I'm told that in Chinese, the character for crisis is dangerous opportunity. Palm Sunday and Holy Week presented dangerous opportunities for Jesus as he entered Jerusalem and the unfolding crisis of the next week that swept him to the cross. The coronavirus pandemic crisis is also a dangerous opportunity for you and for me. How did Jesus face the crisis that enveloped enveloped him beginning with his entrance into Jerusalem? The Gospels indicate that Jesus faced the crisis of Holy Week in ways that may be useful and beneficial to each of us facing the crisis in our city of our day. First, Jesus faced his crisis bravely and sacrificially as he dealt with the forces that swept him to Calvary. Today, I think of those brave people in our midst, the first responders, medical staff, volunteers in various places, who put your lives on the line and risk it all in the service of others. Whoever you are and wherever you are, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your service. God bless. Our prayers are with you. For folk like you or me or others, our contribution may be to stay close to home and wear masks and gloves, which are signs of compassion and compassion for others. If we are called to remain in our own places, quarantined and still maybe bored, at least we can do it gallantly as an offering to the health of the city. Second, Jesus faced the crisis of Holy Week as a leader, as he shepherded his little flock through the maze of events. I wonder what leadership looks like in these days. Every night at 7 o'clock here in New York City, cathedral bells ring, people shout and bang pots throughout the city to show our solidarity with one another in this grim moment. Last night, Saturday night, the bells and the sirens and yells moved me in a very surprising way. I was proud of my city as I heard the noise, and suddenly I broke into tears. What I heard in that cacophony was, we're pulling together to get through this. New York strong, New York courageous, New York compassionate, and we will get through it together. Your cathedral is stepping up and offering itself in partnership with Mount Sinai St. Luke's Hospital to minister in healing ways to those who suffer, as tomorrow we begin filling the cathedral with 385 hospital beds and staff. Thirdly, Jesus faced difficult moments with compassion. He forgave Peter when Peter denied him. Jesus healed the servant whose ear was cut off in a compassionate act. For us, compassionate acts in these days of isolation can be to pray for others by name daily, a phone call or a note to a friend or a relative. As I speak, Cathedral Community Cares, or CCC, is serving bag meals to some 200 or more homeless and hungry people. A major catering company is stepping up to contribute meals, bagged meals, to that effort in this day, it all counts as leadership, as well as the courage and risks that the staff of Cathedral Community Cares takes in serving the neediest in our neighborhood, and the generosity of the caterer who have stepped up as leaders. There are more indications of how Jesus faced his own crisis and crucifixion, and you can find them by reading the Passion narratives and in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A crisis exposes many weaknesses in ourselves, our government, the systems we have created, the people we depend on, our own abilities and strengths and limits. But a crisis also reveals many strengths. From where will the strength come to endure our present crisis? Above all, Jesus faced his Holy Week and Good Friday with a strong and abiding trust, an enduring trust in God and God's goodness and goodwill toward all people. Jesus trusted that God would never abandon him, and Jesus' resurrection from death validates that trust. God will never abandon you or me or anyone. Bidden or unbidden, God is always present to us, to strengthen, to heal, to forgive, to love. And God never abandons. That is the trust that Jesus' resurrection validates. Many centuries ago, Dame Julian sealed herself off in a small cell in Norwich Cathedral and lived in the isolation of that tiny space for many years. During that time, she experienced what she called showings from God. One of those showings speaks to our moment when Dame Julian pointed to her walk with God by saying, "All will be well, and all manner of things will be well." Those simple yet profound words express the strength and the abiding trust that Jesus carried through Holy Week and Easter. That same abiding trust in God will strengthen us for these days. I send you prayers for a blessed, if different, Holy Week and Palm Sunday, and prayers for a joyful Eastertide. Amen.